Yeah, so...
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, my man, George Norris, legend. One of the local photographers in Hull. Very, very good at what he does, man. I like the photography, man. That documentary style. I remember when I was at uni, man, I was doing all that documentary style. I was studying a lot of local and international photographers that really document everything, man. You've always been like that, and yeah, how did you start that? Because I know that you weren't doing loads of it. It was kind of more when you came up with that job what you was doing, wasn't it? You were working away, weren't you? Then you decided to concentrate a bit more on your job.
I've been doing it for 15 years, but there was two things that happened. So, about 12 years ago, I lost my mum. I was looking through a vanity box of photographs and really enjoying looking at the family history, because as you know, I've got family history with the scrap dealing and the rag and bone horses and stuff like that. But some really colourful pictures and great characters in the pictures. And then I also stumbled across Russell Boyce's photographers. He documented me when I was 19, going out with the horse and cart and that. So it was a combination of those two events that really, I felt like I needed to express myself. So basically I went out, bought a camera, and I was just doing small stuff, just family stuff. And then again, looking back at these pictures, I thought everybody needs a witness to the lives. So I was well known in the neighbourhood, so I just went out and captured people in their day-to-day, everyday lives, not posed really.
So I remember, because I mean, even now, you was everywhere, man. Kind of just seemed to just like snap happy, shoot, just be shooting. I mean, that's the thing about being a photographer, isn't it? You know what I mean? Sometimes it's good to just go in there, go out there and shoot. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I know you for, man. You turn up and you just be like, do you know what I mean? And you know, it's good practice to have.
Cameras gives you a passport to get into people's lives and ask questions and stuff like that. But I worked on the rigs for 25 years, and when I was coming on from the rigs, I felt like a tourist in my own city. So I thought, I need to capture this, because I've seen that much mass demolition and industry and people losing their jobs and stuff. So I went initially around fish houses, I documented the tatters. I loved when the street art started in Hull, so I was documenting that on a monthly basis, and I'm still doing that now. I've got a massive archive of all the street art, of all the local artists in Hull. And there's not many days I go out without my camera. And when I go out, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but it's there if something does happen. I mean, yesterday for instance, I was down Hessle Road. There's been a shop, it's been empty for must be 30 years near Maltby's pet shop, and I took pictures of that over the years in its dilapidated state. Well, now it's getting refurbished, so within the next couple of months that'll be up and running, and there's no empty shops on Hessle Road. So when people say, oh, there's no life on Hessle Road, there's a lot of life on Hessle Road, and the community is a fantastic community. A lot of people say salt the earth people, and it's not really a thing. But when I rock up in Rainers or walk in the streets, get a nod and a wink, hey George, how are you doing, how's the family? I get a smile off people, and that feeds me, it really does. It's brilliant.
There's always been life on Hessle Road anyway, because Hessle Road is the hardcore indigenous Hull people before they dispersed everybody to Bransholm and all them other estates. Hessle Road is the epicentre, I'd say, of Hull people, you know what I mean, in terms of even like with the fishing industry. And
well, it's their families, isn't it? It's the next generation on now, so that industry's gone, so new jobs have come about now, like Siemens and bits and bobs. I'm doing 2025 an exhibition, and it's called Homeward Bound Unsaid. Well, it's going to be called Homeward Bound. Basically, what that means is when Hessle Road was getting demolished, thousands of people moved to the estates, Greatfield, Bransholm. Did a bit of research yesterday, 30,000 people moved from Hessle Road to Bransholm. So in 10,000 houses, there's a couple of videos on that. So I'm doing an exhibition next year called, like I say, Homeward Bound. And I'm going to be asking that question, what do you miss about Hessle Road, if anything? Because I know a lot of people still come to Hessle Road to do the shopping from Bransholm. It's a fair old journey to come.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that. So in a way, I'm celebrating all of Hull, but HU3, which is Hessle Road, where I'm from, and where the life is. I remember years ago, Josh Strummer asked Bernie Rose, George Norris from The Clash, he says, what do I write about? And he says, well, you can't write about Route 66 in America, write about what you know. Well, he was brought up on the Westway in London and Brixton, so he wrote about those places, and just makes sense to document where you're from. It's not, I can't go to Leeds and document Leeds because it's not in me, but because I'm born and bred on Hessle Road, it makes more sense to do that. Because in 30 years' time, I won't be here, or maybe if I am great, but there'll be an
legacy.
Yeah, there'll be an archive in the whole history centre of my time on the planet, and if I can continue doing that, and I do get a lot of enjoyment out of it, because Hull's always had a bad rap, being the top 10 shite city, and we know it isn't. And it's a well-kept secret, and it's a brilliant city. We had the 2017 City of Culture. It put us in the spotlight for 3 years, but the creatives in the city have always done their own thing anyway.
Hull's always been like that. It's a very creative place, and yeah, we're always that sort of place where we don't shout about stuff, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in Hull.
Quite modest, isn't it?
I mean?
And the bands, some great bands in the city at the moment. Fruit, I really love them.
A lot of great people, even just like people that are linked to the city, even just on the outskirts, like we're talking like Beverley, Cottingham, all them places. Do you know what I mean? And even though, like, you know, it's East Riding, but it's still kind of part of Hull. I mean, it's just on the boundaries. A lot of them places do associate with Hull. And I was even reading about that guy Ratcliffe, who's got bought 25% of Manchester United.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of grew up in Beverley, and he was, I think, in 2021 or 22, the richest man in the UK.
Wow.
I know. So, Mr. Ratcliffe.
Is that the jeweller?
He made his money in with like fuel, petrol, gas, things like that.
Right.
But yeah, he's an amazing guy. I was reading up about him. And yeah, but it takes on back onto you. So, what was life like growing up in Hull? What area are you from? Where was the youth?
I was Lineage Street, born down there. We moved to Redmond Street. I'm now on Gordon Street.
Well, how many is it? How many is there of you?
2 sisters and a brother. My dad was a rag and bone man, scrap dealer, retired at 81 from the industry. Been doing it since he was 13. Resilient, hard-working bloke. My mum was Smith and Nephews. Always had animals around us. But when I was growing up in this neighbourhood, it was slowly getting pulled down. So our house down Redmond Street got demolished late 70s. We moved to 2nd Street. So there was a lot of demolition around the area. So I went to Raleigh High School. It was what it was. It wasn't great. It was a school. Left there at 16. There was no chance of me going to university. That was never on the cards. So I went out collecting scrap. Did loads of other jobs. Eventually I worked on the rigs. But growing up, 16, 17, brilliant. We had Welly Club, Silhouette Spiders, loads of all my friends leaving school. We all went to them places, you know what I mean?
What music is you into?
I was too old for punk, even though my friends was into it. It was ska for me, two-tone. It resonated with me. It was black and white, unite. We chased the National Front out of town on St Stephen's, out Spring Street years ago. And it's the sad thing is it's raising its ugly head again, isn't it now? And we're fighting them again. But most people in this city are tolerant. You do get the odd racist slur and all the rest of it. And it's out of ignorance and fear, really. I know that. And I don't judge people. It's their opinion, it's not my opinion.
Yeah. So what was life like on the rigs, man? Because you spent quite a bit of time on that. Did you document a lot?
Yeah, I've got photographs, yeah. I've took a lot of photographs. I knew I had to do it because, again, it was alien. It is an alien life to a lot of people.
Talk, Jill, sorry.
I'm going to be such a nuisance. I've rammed the back key in the door and I can't get it out. Sorry.
Do you want to pause, Dave?
Sorry.
How do you manage to break the door?
I've got the wrong key.
last bit. Do you remember? Exactly.
So yeah.
Continuity.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool. So I mean, you know, it's all good, man. Organic. So yeah. Like you said, what was life like on the rigs, man? I mean, because you, like you say, you spent a lot of time on there, and I mean, what did you enjoy? What did you dislike? Why did you actually like cut off? Did you want to? Because I remember when I was speaking to you, you wanted to kind of like concentrate on more on your passion.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? For what he was doing, which is the photography, and you know, obviously that's taking a lot of your time into it.
I think I've always liked the visual creative industries, movies. One of my inspirations is Julian Temple. He made some amazing films with the Pistols and the Clash, and his work was collaging everything together. So that was always in the back of my mind. But going back to your question, the rigs, yeah, it was good. It was lonely at times, but it allowed me to do everything I wanted to do when I was home. So I'd go away for 2 weeks at a time, spend 12 hours a day working, so 168 hours in a fortnight. So he was physically and mentally drained by the time he got home. It was hard at times. You felt like he was missing out on life at home. But I suppose I'd done it since I was 23. I did it to the age of 29. Then I had a 5-year break. And I did performing arts at Raleigh Art School, so I went full circle. Went back to Raleigh, did 3 years on a BTEC. I did a bit of work after that, a new theatre. And it was intermittent, the work. If pantomime season was in, you won't get a lot of work. So I wrapped that, and I bumped into a guy in Shoulder and Mutton, and then I went offshore again. He worked offshore, so I went to work on a drilling rig, which I hated. So then I went back catering, so I'd always worked as a steward on the rig, so it was accommodation, it was working in the kitchens, real team effort.
What was the money like?
The money was brilliant for Hull, because the average wage then was about £15,000 a year, so I was probably around £30,000 a year, which seems a lot.
You get the breaks as well in between.
And
my man Sotheby.
Brian.
Yeah, he remember he was on the rigs, wasn't he?
He got offshore, yeah.
So I remember, did you used to work with him?
I got him the job.
Yeah,
I got him the job, yeah. But he went on to did it for a couple of years, now he's doing something.
Yeah.
Car mechanic or something like that. It went down the pan a bit, unfortunately, but yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, bless him, man. You know what I mean? It's kind of like...
A lot of people go for get a habit, don't they? And life changes.
Yeah, I see him on the corner sometimes, waiting for whatever he's waiting for. But yeah. Sad as it is. Yeah, so any children?
Yeah, I've got Theodora, she lives in London. She's doing really well. She's in recruitment. She did a degree in prosthetic dentistry, so people with cancer of the jaw and stuff like that. She did that for 3 years in Bolton. But then she says to me one day, Dad, I don't think I can see myself in a white lab coat every day. So she blew that out and got into recruitment. And she was on the Roman Road, which is one of my happy places when I'm in London. At Brick Lane, I go down there a lot when I'm in London. So yeah, she's found a boyfriend, and they've just come back from New York actually, and the area of the year was Abu Dhabi. So yeah, I'm happy, she's happy. So I think if your kids are happy, you're happy.
And also, I remember it was your birthday recently.
60th, yeah.
You had a joint birthday with
Jill Adams,
your famous friend,
playwright,
Jill Adams.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was an event at
the George, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was a night.
Funny enough.
Yeah, it was a good night. Yeah, we shared the same birthday, bizarrely, 17th of February.
That's great.
Yeah, me and Jill go back for years. You know, I mean, she's a brilliant writer, as you know, and she's working on a play at the minute, Fish and Leather 2. So she's on probably for the back at the minute, but in the new year she'll be definitely getting that on the stage, her and Carol Ann. So I'm looking forward to it, because there's a part in it. She falls in love with the rag and bone man, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of innuendo there.
Yeah. And you had your exhibition this year, which you got some funding for.
Yeah, well,
and the book was included.
Yeah, so
which is great news.
I've had a great year this year, because with all the years I've been photographing, there was an end game. I wanted to show my work, and the end game was this year. So I did an exhibition at the Hum Street Gallery. Russell Boyce, we jointly did a massive exhibition. We got 15,000 people through the door, which is phenomenal.
What was it called?
So we did this book. It's
called.
Is
that what the exhibition was called?
You and Me in HL3, yeah. So Russell, who inspired me to get into photography,
So a little bit of background about Russell.
So Russell was a student in Hull at 19, 21, till he was here till he was 21. So he was from down south, he was doing a fine art degree, and he was painting a picture of Bob Carver at the chip shop in town. And he went back, and Daniel Meadows, who was a renowned photographer, was teaching at Park Street when Russell was there. And he said to Russell, "Why don't you take a camera out with you and take pictures?" So then Russell did, and he was addicted then. That's when the addiction started with Russell. So another friend of mine, Brett Hamlin, another great photographer.
Brett's great, man.
Brett, he documented Aswad and all the filmmakers.
He's still documenting as well, still travelling to places and
yeah,
documenting, even sometimes doing his sketches, what I like.
He's a great artist, poet, a lot. And so Russell asked Brett, "Do I know anybody who would be worth documenting?" So Russell came along for 3 weeks in the summer of '83 and documented me as a 19-year-old rag and bone man in Hull. So he took about 250 pictures of me, which I'm so happy that he did, because I've got a record of my life of that time. And so Russell left Hull, went to Peterborough, did sports photography, realised it ends couldn't meet. And then a job came up for Reuters International in London, and in his CV it asked that he had to, he went for the interview, and when he went for the interview, it says, "So you've got to speak 2 languages." He says, "What's your 2 languages?" He says, "Well, I'm good at English and I'm good at bullshit." So he ended up getting the job. So that was then Russell.
For the honesty.
For the honesty, he says, I like your style, I like your answer. So he was a freelance artist. He did the Dalai Lama, Nelson Mandela, Diana, Fleet Street stuff, and then he ended up being on the editorial poll in Reuters. So people would send him pictures of the Middle East and what was going on there, and then he'd have to find an outlet to sell the pictures to. So he's in semi-retirement at the moment, and we met up. We've been in constant contact for 40 years. So he put a few ideas my way, and I says, "Well, let's see if we can do a joint exhibition." So we went to the Home Street Gallery with our proposal, and they said, "Oh yeah, it fits the bill, we'd love this." So on the back of that, we created a book with Russell's wife Verity. This is the book here. So it was You and Me and HU3.
So you got some funding, didn't you? I remember.
Well,
is that the one you got the funding for, or is that, a different one?
So Home Street Gallery paid for this.
Okay.
That was a separate gig. But then the Arts Council England were putting a bid, and they asked, I basically said, "I want to do a project, and is any money available?" So luckily I've got some good people behind me who put in the bid, because I'm not very good at bid writing. And I've got Kate Jenner there and a few other great people from the HU3 mob putting this bid, and I was awarded 10,000 quid.
Great, man. Great.
So that allowed me to I'd give up the rigs. I'm going back to Russell. So a few years ago, Russell was there before we did this exhibition. He knew I was documenting my dad, so I gave up the rigs. I knew my dad was still working in the scrap business, so my dad was a project for me. So I'd go out with him, revisiting the scrap business, which was great. We bonded, me and my dad. Like I say, just retired a year and a half ago because of ill health. He had 40 horses on the go, and he was a busy man. He's well known in the city. So Russell says, "I don't want to step on your toes, but any chance I could come out and document you and your dad together?" I says, "I'm sure my dad would be all right with that." He says, "No, ask your dad." So I says, "Dad, would it be all right if Russell came up to Hull to document us for 10 days? My dad's answer was, "As long as you don't get in the way," do you know what I mean? So that's my dad. So Russell came, stopped with me, documented us together, brilliant, made a film which is on YouTube, Hull's oldest rag and bone man. The cry of the rag and bone man falls quiet in Hull. 100,000 plus viewings it's had on YouTube, which is brilliant.
Amazing.
So that's another great thing, that my dad's life's documented, his history, and he was talking about his life growing up 13 to now 83, collecting cardboard to start with, and then he saved up enough money to buy an horse and cart. Him and his 5 brothers have all done that all their lives. So he's the last of that Norris generation of the scrap dealers, as in his generation. So
Cool.
Then we approached them and said, we had a few ideas. We wanted to do the billboards on the old empty shops down Whitefriars. We wanted to just fill Whitefriars with great images. Anyway, we were knocking on all city council's door for a while, getting nowhere. So then we approached Summer Street Gallery. Yes, we'd love to take the exhibition. So that was a great thing for me to see actually how it works. Actually putting a proposal together. Russell's good at the technical side of all that. I'm not very good at that, sizing pictures and how it will flow in an exhibition space. So it's not a matter of just putting pictures on walls, it's got to flow. And then I learned, it was a learning curve for me, all that. I really enjoyed that experience. So going back to the Arts Council, I had a few ideas in my head, but then I came up with, because I've been documenting the gypsy community for 15 years, all the horse fairs and my family connections, it gives me that insight and people feel good around me and feel that I'm not going to exploit them.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
So it's trusting someone to document. When someone is photographing you, they're stealing your soul.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean, when you open up to photographs.
So the gypsies come to Hull twice a year, the Price family. It's Rose Price, she's got 14 children. Well, she lost one, Anthony. And we've got this really great relationship. So they're from Wales. They travel from Wales every March, go down to Cornwall and travel for 7 months up the East Coast. They end up in Hull, Newcastle, then up to the borders of Scotland, let's say, and then they come back and do Appleby Horse Fair every year. They're all more or less all grown up, like children now, but they've got kids. So in the first book I did with Russell, I made sure Rose got a copy of the book, and we've got this really great connection with her and the families. So on the back of that, I thought, why don't I try and get to Appleby? So my brother Carl, he's still going to Appleby Horse Fair this year. Do you fancy coming along? I says, of course, I'd love it. So his son Carson, he's 3 now. So there's me, his wife Kelly, a good friend Wayne, the dog, 2 horses, and basically I documented the journey to Appleby. So, and that was a great experience. So for 7 days we was travelling either in motors, and when we got into different villages we'd drive around the villages and enjoy the company of all the other people also doing the same journey to Appleby. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. Came on early because it was forecast rain for 3 days. So we came home early, dropped the horses off, dropped the dog off, then went back for the Saturday. And there's 2 main parts of Appleby. There's the River Eden, which is where they wash all the horses, and it's a real spectacle. And then there's the Flash, where they ride up and down with their chariots or on the backs of horses. So there's 30,000 people go every year. There's 10,000 Roma traveller community, and there's 20,000 tourists. So it's a real big thing. It's the biggest horse fair in the country. So we did that. The weather was good when we arrived on the Saturday. So with my Arts Council grant, I managed to collate all the pictures, had a word with Russell and Verity about putting a book together. So we did that, and I've just produced this new book.
So this is a book, yeah?
So George Untethered, yeah.
And we'll have a quick little scan through the book, and hopefully you're gonna choose. Because if we go through the book, we're going to be all day. But if we can choose
a few pictures
and just kind of like explain the meaning behind the pictures as well, and that book as well.
Yeah, this one, yeah. So untethered is like freedom. If a horse isn't tethered, it's free to roam, like the gypsies are. And like I said, there'll be more of these next year when we do this exhibition in Branzone.
Like a weighty.
Yeah, weighty.
Yeah.
That was a real. So
the quality as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then the History Centre, I've just given quite a few copies away of Untethered, but the libraries want 10 copies, so that's brilliant. So every library in the city is going to have it stocked. If you don't want to buy it, you can go borrow it from the library. The History Centre is going to have a copy, which is brilliant. I'm going to do a talk there next year in March next year, all about the gypsies and my experience of going to Appleby Horse Fair, yeah. So
cool.
Looking forward
and
to
before we take a look through the book, besides your life and times, so you know you've travelled to a few different areas in Hull, and obviously seeing how people live. Do you know what I mean? Like ground level, how people live. Do you know what I mean? Like, what would you, in your opinion, what would you say that what we'd like to make better? If you had the wishes, 2 wishes, do you know what I mean? What would you say? I wouldn't say 3 wishes, I'd say 2, because I like to keep things. So what would you say that we need, and what would you say that you, through being a documentary photographer, what would you say that we actually need to improve Holland, and what you see if you had the chance to make the Hulls better?
I suppose I was fortunate when I was 15, 16, going to youth clubs, Wally's under 18s, Romeo's under 18s. We had somewhere where we could bond and we could talk and dance and get to know people, I suppose, venues and stuff like the Welly Club, like I say, for bands and stuff. So I think if we could invest a bit into youth services to stop this knife crime and all the rest of it, I think it would alleviate it overnight, but just somewhere for people to go rather than hanging around the streets. Because after the small petty crimes, it's just out of boredom, isn't it? So if we had somewhere, I don't know, it's all about health and safety and volunteers and this, that and the other, but they need to find the money, because it must cost thousands to keep somebody in prison for silly things. So that'd be one wish I'd like. And I suppose another one is we could get more employment. Like, I work at Siemens on a weekend, and they're employing 1,100 people now. So if we've got somebody of that ilk into the city, and I think that will come anyway, because I think this new road that they're building, which will be finished next year, I think all the brownfield sites off Hessle Road, going up to Welton and Melton, I think people will relocate to Hull. That's my optimism, and I hope I'm right in that. But I think that the workforce is definitely here. There's an energy about the city. I mean, the city is glorious. I mean, the civic buildings of the times of past. We was like London of the North, I think, when you look around the city. In the 50s, when we were vibrant, when the fishing was at the top of its game. And I think that could come back, and it's all about pride in it. And I think the pride's been knocked out of people for a lot of years and forgetting how great we are. And I think if we got somebody as big as Siemens into the city, which I'm hoping somebody like that ilk will do, and then I think people will be able to afford housing. The rents are getting silly now, so we need more housing, I know that. But I think if you get people in employment with good jobs on 30,000 plus, they can afford to get the first starter homes at 120,000, stuff like that. And then that's the economy, and it's the money's being circulated, bars, restaurants, other things, you know what I mean?
Keeping in the city into the money.
Yeah.
It's circulating to the people and stuff like that.
There's a lot of, like I say, creativity. There's no money in creativity. But if we can hold the students, probably move to other cities to get employment after they leave, and just keep the creativity here rather than them having to find another city to go, move to Leeds or Manchester because the opportunities are here. I think if we can do that and have a music scene, and the Warren's doing that. The Warren's doing an amazing job. They're just getting a lot of investment now. They're doing their place up, and they're catered to a lot of young kids who don't have any other options and are creative and they're putting the music out there. I mean, you're doing great stuff, Dave, and you've been doing that for years. I really respect you.
Thank you.
You've been doing it since you was 17, 18, getting no money, and you're doing all this great stuff with the knife crime stuff. And when the city culture was taking the Beats bus to all these estates where there was getting no stimulus from the city culture people. So that was all great work, and I think them kids who you brought through will remember that for the rest of their lives, and it gives them another outlook, doesn't it? It gives them, I can do other things. I don't have to go down that road of petty crime and prisons and the rest of it, do you know what I mean? You just need hope, don't you? That's the thing, isn't it?
Of course. Yeah, cool. So now we're going to have a look through some images.
Yeah.
And Sean and George going to give us a little bit of an insight into the ideas behind. Let me just get my... Yeah, I'm gonna pan down now and... Yeah.
So, we had an exhibition at Humber Street Gallery, Casalia, 15,000 people through the door, and this was a publication between myself, Russell, and Verity, his wife, designed the book. So Russell was revisiting his pictures of the 80s when I was a part of that journey, collecting scrap in Hull. So I was 19, like I say, with my friend Glenn Collins there. And it was just, like this area was getting demolished. There was a lot of redevelopment going on in the city. This is North Hull quadrant. So Russell took all these great pictures of people that I'd see on a regular day-to-day basis. That'd be Joan. I'd sell her a few bits and pieces. Over the years, Woodcock Street, all that area's been totally transformed now into new housing. Brian Bassett and scrapyards. Again, Woodcock Street area. Me and my mum, this is Brighton Street, that's all being redeveloped now. So there is things going on. So I was saying earlier about the Gypsies coming to Hull twice a year and also doing this exhibition on Bransholm next year. So they come to the cemetery near where I live. It's a disused cemetery. And the spotless, so all that about them being scruffy and all the rest of it, I'm not buying it. They're very proud people. So I've been documenting the travellers, again, 10 to 15 years now. And they just want to live their best lives, basically. And that's what they're doing. And their way of life, if we don't get things right in this country, there's going to be more people living in caravans. So they can't all be called gypsies. Shakira. A couple of the boys with their cockerels. So animals are a big part of the gypsy traveller community. They love their animals and they're really well looked after. Martin Parr loved that picture. It won an award, that one. This is at a horse fair called Seema. These young girls. So the changing times of the city. This is Russell's work. Hessle Road, as he remembers it in 83, 84. The changing faces of the city. Redevelopment. Goalposts on wasteland. Signing on in the post office, which is now top colour on Hessle Road. Jumble sales. Kids being kids. Poverty and demolition. This is a funny picture because Maggie Thatcher's on there twice, but one's a waxwork and it's Maggie Thatcher unveiling her own effigy at the Madame Tussauds. Again, jumble sales. This is my love letter to Hull, so I'd like to do another book of my love letter to Hull, which is, I've got an archive of 80,000 pictures, so this is a small edit of these pictures. But there's always life going on around the city. This is Cholmondeley Street where I would live, not far from where I live. This is Siemens where I now work. This would never be able to be taken again. This picture was taken in 2015 and these sheds have all gone now and Siemens multi-million-pound industry is there now making wind blades. The dead bod sheds at the back, which is a big thing in Hull, the dead bod. I've taken this family here, just taking the dogs for a walk. The fog's just rising. And this dead bod, if nobody knows what it is, it's street art from the 60s and it's been saved and it's now in a museum in Hull, the Home Street Gallery. So we've got a few colourful characters here. I met this lady at the Home Street Gallery. She mentioned the picture with her husband who's unfortunately passed now. So that was a touching moment, meeting her and sharing her thoughts on that picture.
So yeah, we're gonna kind of, if you need to see any more pictures, make sure you, where can the book be,
well,
is it available?
This book's now out of print because we only did 50 copies and they went quite quickly. But the other book, shall we go to Untethered?
Yep. So
these are Candida Barry of Russell's. Let me just show you these last few.
Yep.
So that's Candy. These are Russell. This is Russell's work. Bobby Mandrell, not Candy. Bobby Mandrell. So Peacocks is my take on youth culture in Hull and other places, and people will know these characters. But they're all people who live in and around Hull. Danny Phelps, the Garbett sisters. And in the Hum Street Gallery, we had a big wall of all these faces, hundreds of them. I'm just fascinated with ink and tattoos and the ways people express themselves. It's just their own way, innit? Their identities. And during COVID, nobody could even hold hands. It felt that way. So I asked lots of people, can you give your partner a kiss? So I thought that'd be a nice thing to do. So yeah, so the next book. So I was given some money off the Arts Council England last year, and I had 12 months to create a body of work. And the body of work, basically, I thought I need to document, which I have been doing, my family. And it was a road trip to Appleby Horse Fair. So this is another book created by Verity, Russell's wife. And these are fresh off the block. George Norris, Untethered, Arts Council England. So I start off with Bloodlines, going back a couple of generations to my family. My great-granddad, Samuel. Then moving forward to his son, George Francis, and my grandma, Annie Norris. And then step forward again, my dad and his brothers at Hull Cattle Market, which is in town, which is now gone. It's now where Toys R Us is. My dad and my granddad. My dad at work. Me and my mum. A couple of Russell's pictures in the mix. These are a couple of Brett's ambulance pictures of Appleby in '94 when we went to Appleby. So I've been lucky. So them two guys inspired me. So then I thought, right, let's document my dad. So I was doing that for a couple of years. And the funerals and the traditional funerals that the Norrises have. And then it was the road trip. So before we could go, we had to get the horse shod, Luna, by Ben Machem, the blacksmith. I was been doing it for years, 5-year apprenticeship. This was Luna's first trip out. She'd never been out collecting anyway, so me and Carl, we had a drive out around Cottingham, was collecting scrap. Like I say, Luna's first visit out. And then we went around Cottingham collecting scrap. Washed the horse down, put Luna away. So then we was all ready to go to Appleby. So Carl and Wayne, with this horse is called Teddy. And it was an army operation. It felt like a manoeuvres operation because everything had to be, the horse had to be safe, the boxes, the caravans, everything was checked out before we could hit the journey. So we're stopping villages and meet up with these people. And they was all accommodating, great people. We ate, we drank, the kids played with each other, which was fantastic. So this is Ripon, one of the journeys, part of the journey. This is Ripon Falls. This book can be bought at J. Julie's down Hessle Arcade. Independent bookshop. So I say we met all these people. They was travelling in boat-top wagons with the kids. Their first time to Appleby for a lot of these younger people. Oh, the carriage got stuck in the mud. So it was great for me to be a part of this trip and have these great people giving me the time and freedom to record their lives on this 7-day journey. I'm definitely going to go do it again because it was fascinating. I had been before years ago, but not like this, not with a camera and knowing what I want to take pictures of. So again, all the travelling community on a temporary site, all just living their best lives. Horses and freedom. So he had his wheel off there, so he had to replace his wheel. So we're heading to Appleby now. This is Iron Bridge, the cover of the book. So then you can see the weather's changing. So we ended up in a place called Hawes, and it was forecast really, really bad weather for 3 days. So we're all cooped up in this caravan. We decided, let's go on and let's come back another day to do the last leg of the trip to Appleby. So now we're in Appleby, and these are the pictures I took. The beautiful caravans, the friendly people, Gypsy Lee, Rosie. So it costs a lot of money to put this fair on. There's a lot of litter like most festivals like Glastonbury, but the travelling community do clear up after themselves. They've tried to ban it for years, but it won't happen because it's such a spectacle. Anybody who loves horses, they should go at least once in their lifetime to experience it. The kids immaculately dressed, proud parents, love the children, love to see them all dressed. This little boy's first Holy Communion in a tent in the middle of a field. This is the River Eden, where a lot of the horses would get washed before they did the flash. Again, the RSPCA was brilliant. They made sure that the horses weren't overworked. If they thought there was, they would spray them with like a blue dye and tell their owners to stop it. So it's become a lot safer at Appleby Horse Fair now for the people. There's safety barriers. Luckily the weather was great. That river is absolutely freezing because I've been in it years ago. But you can't fail to get a good picture really, because it's just all in front of you. So these pictures are around Hull, different horse fairs. So these lads are having a deal. And this is some of the bling that they wear. They like horses and bling, and it's all about them showing their wealth off, I suppose. And the carts are also their expression of folk art, the beautiful artwork. What's been created over the years and been passed down through generations. That was a painting in the Ferrens. I've since met the lady who painted it. She was wonderful. And this is the harness for the horses. Like I said, it was always beautifully dressed because they take pride in it. And this is my family tree. So going back through the Norris lineage, going back to my great granddad, and through my granddad and my father's line, and now through to us.
Right.
And that's what you do when you can't drive too many miles. You just got to put your horse box on the back of a wagon. Sorry, your caravan. So that's untethered, Dave.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to doing my next book now in the new year, and doing this exhibition at Humber Street at the Branshome walk-in chat place with Back to Hours. So there's some good things happening next year for me. And then we're talking about taking over the Boulevard Library, the top floor, and having that as a permanent photography place for people to exhibit from the schools, Boulevard Academy, Chiltern Street. So it's all working in the community, and it feeds me, and hopefully it'll inspire other people to take up photography and just look around them and see what great city we live in.